Before we begin this week's episode, we want to speak about the shooting in Colorado Springs at Club Q. A gunman walked into the space and opened fire, murdering 5 people and injuring at least 19 others. He was stopped by an Army veteran, Richard Fierro. Richard was attending a drag show with his daughter. Richard served 3 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. Thank you, Richard, for your service.
Violence against the LGBTQ plus community is senseless, disgusting, and often done at places of joy and safety like these clubs. We stand with this community against hatred, bigotry, and violence. We cannot wait for this monster to be brought to justice, so we're sending all of our love to those impacted.
We're not going to give the murderer airtime or speak his name, but we do want to say the names of those murdered and give a pause for them and their families and loved ones. Daniel Aston, Kelly Loving, Ashley Powell, Derek Rump, Raymond Green Vance.
Welcome to Malpractice Podcast.
Good morning. Are you ready to get started?
I was like, what morning news show is this? Good morning.
Morning news show. We're professional
Yeah.
as fuck. I'm Sydney.
And I'm Jess.
And this is Malpractice Podcast in the morning.
Malpractice in the morning.
We love a morning recording.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just feel like we're on in the morning. We're here.
We haven't been burdened by the day's bullshit yet, is what it's going. Is what really
That's
is going on.
100% accurate.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're like,
Today
I want to lay down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And right now we're cheerful.
Yeah.
We're peppy.
Yeah.
We're here
Yeah.
to bring you some good shit. Speaking of which, thank you to our listeners for being here for 100 episodes. Is it wild to you?
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at our stats. We have listeners in Norway and Thailand.
Who are we?
Who even are we? Who do we think we are?
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for the listens. Thank you for the downloads. You guys are keeping us here.
Mm-hmm.
We're having fun. We hope you're having fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And also, 100 episodes. Congratulations to those of you who've listened to 100 episodes.
Oh my God. How do you find the time?
How do you find the energy to keep up with me and Sydney? I barely do. Thank you so much.
Everybody who's been supporting us.
So fun.
We love you. Thank you.
What a holiday gift.
It is a holiday gift. Let's talk about plans. What are you doing?
I'm going to the Valley
Mm-hmm.
to be with Michelle's family.
We're going to see Eric's family. But my question to you is, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish? Like, what's your favorite thing on the table?
Listen, here's the thing.
Okay.
I really love, like, all the food.
Oh, same.
However, my favorite Thanksgiving dish
Yes.
is, like, mac and cheese.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But not everybody includes it. Like, I like baked mac and cheese.
Well, it's a staple.
But not everybody has it. Like, my family doesn't have it. The only time my
Your
family
own
has it
parents?
at Thanksgiving is when, well, come on.
Okay.
Is when I make it.
I see.
Then they have it.
Okay.
I also like the sweet potato casserole.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I also like every pie I've ever owned and tasted.
I've never met a pie I didn't like.
And I love broccoli and cheese casserole, like with rice.
Yep.
I love everything.
Do you like green bean casserole, yes or no?
Yes.
I love green bean casserole.
I love green beans.
Same. I'll eat a green bean any time of the day.
Oh my God. It's so good. I love green bean casserole.
I'll eat green beans anytime.
I cannot think of a casserole I don't like, actually.
No.
That I have encountered at Thanksgiving.
No.
Except,
same. No.
I will say this.
Same.
Jessie Oswald, from whom I get my name.
Yeah.
My grandmother, would make the most disgusting
Uh-huh.
Midwestern Northern dish, and it's called peas and peanuts.
Ugh.
It is quite literally peas,
Yeah.
peanuts, and like sour cream. It is disgusting.
Look, people from the Midwest do some wild shit in a casserole.
They be doing some stuff.
They'll throw anything into a casserole and be like, this was planned.
Yeah, no.
Peas and peanuts makes no sense.
Wait, what's your favorite casserole?
Oh.
Or I guess it doesn't have to be casserole. I don't want to limit you.
So I really like sweet potatoes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My grandma makes them with marshmallows
Yep.
melted on top.
Oh, yeah.
It's the right vibe.
I'm going to be there.
For sure.
Yeah, it sounds great.
When you pull a slice of the sweet potato pie kind of out, marshmallow, it's like melted cheese. Marshmallow comes out like melted cheese.
Yeah. It's like a healthy s'more.
So I love that.
Yeah.
What about a pumpkin pie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll smash a pumpkin pie.
Period. I'll eat the whole pie. I'll
Same.
eat the whole pie.
With Cool Whip? Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
I'll eat the whole pie.
The one that comes in a little Tupperware. Mm-hmm.
I also feel like stuffing is really slept on.
Oh, yeah. But people do it wrong.
Not everybody does it the right way. I feel like everybody has a stuffing recipe that they like from their family.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
My grandma does it in a way that is just, chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else's is garbage.
Yeah. My aunt has a recipe my mom took and uses, and it's really good, too.
Yeah. My grandma's recipe is from my great-great aunt.
See? Yep.
Who knows where she got it from, right? Somebody had it at some point.
Sounds delicious.
Love a family tradish.
Yeah.
Does your family have any fun traditions that y'all do? Does Michelle's family? What do you guys?
I mean, we've tried to create some because there wasn't really any.
Yeah.
So we do like a game or a competition. Like this year, we're gonna do gingerbread house decorating competition.
Oh, fun! That's a good idea.
My family would always put the tree up the day after Thanksgiving and put up all the Christmas stuff, but our Christmas stuff's already up.
Yep.
Because we are an after Halloween house. Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
So no, what about you?
My family typically watches the Dallas Cowboys play football.
Oh yeah, that Michelle's family does that 100%.
That's like a Texas staple. No, my family,
Just eating.
mostly just eat until you die.
That's good.
Yeah.
If you lay down and you stretch like flat and then you get back up, you can eat more. Just in case anyone needs that little tidbit.
Okay, I will say this is a tradition my family does. So there's this German soup. You make the stock out of the bones.
Oh.
And then we roll out our own noodles.
Ooh.
The day after Thanksgiving, we spend the whole day cooking down the turkey bones, making the stock, and then rolling out the noodles. So that's pretty fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was just thinking about your mom the other day. I need to get her pickling recipe.
Oh, you need to get it. It's a good one.
Like if she sold that stuff, I'd buy cases.
Yeah.
Cases
Yeah.
of that.
If anyone is out there listening and happens to have a plug at Food Network, my mom wants to be a Food Network star so bad.
She does?
She's like, I want to teach people how to pickle. And I'm like, you could do it.
I want to learn.
Yeah.
I'm coming to your mom's house. Let's just point
Let's make
blank,
a plan. We need to go out
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Do you want to do this? Get into it? I'm just very fascinated by it. The whole thing is very fascinating to me because it's a real...
Fuckaroo.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
I feel like this is like the song that doesn't end.
Correct.
Like on the Lamb Chop show, there was this song they would sing.
Yeah.
This is how this feels to me.
So, if you're a listener of the show, you've probably heard us talk about this in the past. If you've heard our other episodes about Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani, just the whole big situation, then you know what's going on. If you haven't, I recommend checking them out because this story is wild. And to be honest, I feel like we have some pretty solid analysis of the situation while it's happening.
Yeah, and I think too, like if you haven't heard this, like you live in the US, perhaps you are under a rock. Get out from under that. But
Correct.
also, it's a really interesting case study of the direction I believe we're taking in our punishment of people who lie to investors.
Right.
Like, I think there is progress in this direction.
It definitely feels like they're kind of making an example out of the people in this case, which is, in this case, I think fair. Yeah. So if you know the story, stick with us for a quick recap. If you're not familiar, this is the story of a young woman who started a biotech company called Theranos at the age of 19 is when she started it.
Post dropping out.
Correct. The company was at one point valued at around $9 billion. That's billion with a B, based on technology that Elizabeth told the world that they had created, which was a machine that could run hundreds of health tests from only a few drops of blood collected by pricking patients' fingers. Now, the biggest issue that we and the courts, investors, patients, the general public have with Theranos is that this entire claim was bullshit.
Yeah. And if you've ever, like, had blood drawn for tests, you know how many vials, like, you have to get drawn, like, 6 vials?
Right.
So this claim was like, oh my God, a miracle. Like, it felt like a miracle to people, and people who are, like, chronically ill
Exactly.
were, like, so excited for the development of something like this, right?
Yes. She was on the cover of Forbes.
Yeah.
People were calling it, like, the healthcare revolution.
Yeah.
Like, it was a big deal. Unfortunately, their tech never worked. They gave thousands of patients horribly inaccurate results, all while saying over and over how amazing it was, getting more and more people of higher calibers to invest in it. Over the last year, we've been covering Elizabeth's story and the trial because defrauding investors is terrible, but defrauding patients and giving them false healthcare results is arguably much worse.
Yeah. It's the hill we'll die on.
I'm happy to die on that particular hill.
Yeah. I love that hill.
Same.
And I'll sit there forever.
Correct.
So we do have a bit of a Theranos update for everyone because the saga will never end, but we do have like a new development. So Elizabeth Holmes was convicted on 4 counts of investor fraud and conspiracy back in January and was sentenced this past Friday to a little over 11 years in prison. 11 years? That is a significant amount of time.
Correct.
For this crime.
I mean, 11 years is... That's for 4 counts of fraud.
Yes.
And conspiracy to commit fraud.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
The weight of that, I was like, woof.
Yeah.
Because we didn't actually think she'd go to jail for that long.
No, I was almost convinced that it was going to be some white-collar crime bullshit where she was on, like, house arrest, like, basically what her attorneys asked for.
Yeah, me too.
I thought as well.
I thought she may have a couple months, like 6 months.
Like, symbolic.
Yeah, or like, who is that actress who, like, went to jail for bribing a university or something like that?
Oh, Felicity Huffman.
I felt like it was going to be something like that, where you, like, go in for...
Community service.
Yeah, you know, because at the end of the day, like, people really don't go to jail for this length.
Not typically.
For this. Yeah, it's not typical.
Right.
But again, I do think some things are changing, but I have an opinion about it. We can talk at the end too.
Sure.
So Holmes is pregnant with her second child, and she appeared for the sentencing dressed in a dark blouse and a black skirt and was given like this shocking number of 135 months behind bars. And she was given that by U.S. District Judge Edward Davila.
Yeah.
In that same San Jose, California courtroom where a jury convicted her on 4 counts of the investor fraud and conspiracy back in January. So same place, slapped her with like a huge sentence.
Yeah.
He ordered Holmes to repay $121 million to 10 investors, including Murdoch and former Wells Fargo CEO Richard
Kovacevic.
What a name, Richard. And both of them sat on the company's board, according to the New York Times.
Yeah.
She said in court, "I stand before you taking responsibility for Theranos. It was my life's work." This was according to reporters in the courtroom said that she said this. And then she also said, "I am devastated by my failings." She felt, quote, "deep pain for what people went through because I failed them." Then she went on to apologize to investors and patients, adding, "I regret my feelings with every cell in my body." But nobody cares.
Yeah.
I think like people just like they didn't believe her.
Right.
So Assistant U.S. Attorney Robert Leach said she repeatedly chose lies, hype, and the prospect of billions of dollars over patient safety and fair dealings with investors.
Yep.
He wrote that in a 46-page brief. And then he also said Elizabeth Holmes' crimes were not failing. Like, you can fail. It's fine.
Yeah.
They were lying. Lying in the most serious context where everyone needed her to tell the truth.
I mean, woof.
And they didn't hold back, you know.
No. And they shouldn't, because she did...
She did lie!
She did lie. I mean, there's proof that she lied. There's text where she's saying, like...
Yeah.
What do we do about this? To her co-conspirator.
But my thing is, I really hate that she didn't get convicted on any of the patient-centered crimes.
Yes.
They said that and I read about this, they basically said she was too separated from that work. But she spent so much time with investors, she couldn't claim that degree of separation.
I mean, she was the public face of the company. So to me, anytime they can prove someone raised a red flag and she didn't address it, personally, that would have probably been enough for me to convict her on conspiracy of lying to patients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. No, I totally I totally agree.
Like, people told her that the tests were not accurate, and she knew that.
Yeah, they weren't accurate. Yeah. I hate that she's sentenced for crimes about taking people's money versus, like, putting people's lives at risk.
Right, which is arguably the much worse part of it.
That bothers me.
Yeah.
Moments after the ruling, she turned to hug her crying mother, and she was comforted by her father and her partner after the sentence was handed down. Mm-hmm. She was ordered to begin serving the sentence in April 27th.
Yeah.
Her lawyers have 2 weeks to file an appeal, and they're going to do that for sure.
For sure.
And then they're expected to ask the judge to allow her to remain free during the appeal process.
Right.
I read this analysis by a white-collar criminal defense attorney, Jacob Frankel.
Yep, I read this one too.
You did? Okay. He said the judge tried this case very carefully. It's unlikely that an appeal would result in changing the sentence.
Right.
And then he also said that her taking the stand during her trial may have contributed to actually sealing her fate on appeal.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a good idea for her to take the stand.
Which I feel like people who are the defendant in the case rarely take the stand.
Yes.
And she did for 7 days. She testified for 7 full days.
Yeah.
Like, she had a lot of testimony.
Yeah. He agrees. Jacob said, ultimately, the jury made its decision in large part based on whether it did or did not believe Elizabeth Holmes.
Right.
So I think that appeal is going to be tough for the defense, is what he said.
Yeah. Number one, there should be no doubt in anyone's mind that she plans to file an appeal, which you should. If you're criminally convicted, you should probably file an appeal. Most people do. I think from everything that I read, she's unlikely to stay out of jail completely, given that if her appeal is upheld by the appellate court, so if they agree with her on her appeal, they would still not be able to overturn Judge Davila's sentence unless they find that he either miscalculated or somehow violated the U.S. sentencing guidelines. That's the only way they could keep her out of jail completely.
And he
didn't. Because he was super careful about this case.
Yeah. He knew what was going down.
Correct. Every legal expert who has talked about this case publicly has said the judge was very careful. Mm-hmm. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing, and he was careful to keep the fairness of the trial preserved because he knew that they were going to try to pick it apart after.
Yeah.
Which is good, and I guess judges should always be doing that, but...
Right. Well, now that I watch YouTube...
Court TV.
crime show, I'm, like, so obsessed with how judges, like, conduct the courtroom.
Yeah.
But judges are, like, protecting the integrity of what happened.
Against appeals.
So much so that I think it's actually more difficult to appeal now.
Yeah, it does seem that way. There's also no guarantee that they won't make her await the decision of the appeal from jail, because they can do that.
Yeah.
Her lawyers are basically asking them to keep her out of jail while the appeals process goes through, because the appeal process could take years, right?
Yes.
Is my understanding. And so they're trying to keep her out of jail while that happens. If she is having a second child to try and stay out of prison...
That is, like, a real... commitment.
That's neither here nor there. That's just me editorializing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was pregnant during her trial, and everybody thought that she kind of did that to, like...
Yeah, to get some sympathy.
Soften her image a little. And maybe she just wanted to have kids anyway. Who can say for sure?
And she was like, better do it now.
But also, if you knew that you're going to be in jail for the next 11 years, you probably... That's a risky move.
I don't think she thought she was going to lose.
She definitely did not.
I think she's... vain enough to think that she was really going to get away with all of this.
I 100% agree with you. She said to a former Walgreens lab consultant on a video call in 2010, somebody brought up to her that her blood tests, if they produced bad results, she could be held responsible for killing someone. And she responded to that person, "They don't put pretty people like me in jail," which is pretty awkward considering the current circumstances.
Considering your proximity to straight to jail.
Straight to prison.
Yeah.
Prosecutors had originally asked the judge to give her 15 years in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release and around $800 million in restitution to both patients and investors.
Woof, that is so much money.
$800 million is kind of an unfathomable amount, I think.
What is money?
What even is money? That's probably what she thinks all the time.
Yeah.
Prosecutor Jeff Shanks said 15 years is the right sentence because it is the sentence that follows the law. The sentence is the thing that causes the respect for the law. When faced with the choice of allowing Theranos to fail, Miss Holmes made a choice to defraud her investors.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
There are so many, again, I refer back to Bruce Sackman, friend of the pod, who says, how many stop signs do you run through, right?
Right.
And there are so many stop signs here that she could have been like, this isn't working.
There were so many chances.
Not done any of this. And instead, she was like, I am determined.
Yeah.
To be famous is what I think.
That's what I think, too. She just wanted to be, I think she really wanted to be in the spotlight.
Right. If she cared about patients, she wouldn't have done this.
No, agreed. I was having a little bit of trouble with this because I'm like, I understand nobody wants to be judged by the worst thing they did when they were 19 years old.
How long was Theranos going, though?
Yeah, that's the thing. It went on for years and years and years, right? So it started when she was 19, but at some point, you have to be held responsible for your actions. And when you were actively trying to defraud not only high caliber investors, but also she was like trying to take this global and defraud the US military.
Yeah.
Like you were trying to take it to a level.
It's too far. Yeah.
It's too far. It's like she just got wrapped up in the lie and then the lie kept spiraling.
Yeah.
Into something bigger and bigger.
And I think everyone who allowed her
Yeah.
to do that and encouraged her should also straight to jail.
Yeah. She did not do this alone, for sure.
That's on period.
So...
And we better see some more sentences roll out.
I think we will. For sure for her Sonny Balwani.
Straight to jail.
Guilty on all 10 counts. He's definitely going to jail.
He's got to be preparing now.
He has to be.
Which he got handed down.
His sentencing happens on December the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. Okay. So originally, prosecutors were seeking like 15 years. Holmes's lawyers responded with an 82-page document about why she only deserved to be sentenced to 18 months of house arrest and community service.
I think they should have also put that she should pay back money.
You can't just say community service. Like you get community service for like a speeding ticket.
It's giving privilege and it's just not going to fly in a court of law.
Sure.
I think I should have to stay home. I should be grounded.
Right.
No.
I'm sorry. 18 months of house arrest in your nice-ass house, probably.
Also, some people like to stay at home.
Right. We all just did that for 18 months.
I didn't mind it a bit.
10 out of 10 would rather do that than go to jail.
That's on period. And see that? It's ugly.
And if she wasn't a rich white lady, no one would even say she deserved house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason for this ask by her attorneys was that they said she had the opportunity to cash out and leave Theranos, and she never did that. So their argument was essentially that she never took advantage of the money and fame that she had accumulated in this situation. Y'all can be the judge of that.
But
I think it's a little bit like applauding the getaway driver for not driving away.
But I do think actually, we can just talk about it now.
Yeah.
So I was listening this morning to Pivot with Scott and Kara, and they were talking about this, and they were talking about the difference between the way she's been sentenced and treated and say like Adam Newman with WeWork and how he was able to walk away after literally losing because he was defrauding investors like $13 billion. He was actually paid to walk away.
Oh, wow.
And that was because the major investor, according to them, they were discussing this, like didn't want to make this public because it was like embarrassing.
Oh,
whereas these people were like, bitch,
give me my money.
Better have my money. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if she was, and I'll just like call my own bias, if she was a man getting this sentence, I'd be like, that's right. But because she's a woman getting this really harsh sentence comparatively with other people who have arguably gotten away with this kind of thing before, I think it gives people like a bad taste.
Yeah.
People just didn't like her.
Yeah.
And like
she's not likable.
And people just do not believe her.
Yeah. I have a hard time because I believe that she bought into her own bullshit. I fully believe that.
I do too. Especially with the statements that she made in trial. Like, her taking the stand probably against her attorney's recommendations.
Should not have, probably.
I think people hyped her up so hard when she was 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
That she was like, this is a good thing I'm doing.
Right. Yeah. I have such a hard time because if any of this had been true, if any of her technology had been anywhere near what she told people it would have been revolutionary.
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day, she was not the tech person. She was the face of the company, but she was not the one making the organization run.
Yep. Bingo.
Now, my issue is that it's in healthcare. And I think that that's why her sentence is maybe so harsh, is because people are like, well, you did all this in a healthcare space where like people's lives were at risk.
But then they didn't even find her guilty for the patient focused stuff.
Yes.
See, I was thinking that same thing, and I was doing a lot of research around people who defrauded investors in the healthcare space, and I couldn't really find a lot of stuff.
It's hard,
and I think it's because they settle and go away.
Yeah. The only reason we know as much as we do about Theranos is because of what came out during the court hearing. Like, if they had just settled from the beginning,
oh yeah,
we would never know any of this.
I bet she wishes she took a plea deal. She still hasn't admitted any wrongdoing.
Yeah.
And I think that also hurt her.
It definitely did. The judge has said, he gave a pretty lengthy discussion of why he settled the way that he did, Judge Edward Davila. And he basically said he would not add time to the sentence based on the harm the blood testing company did to patients because, like you said, she was acquitted of all patient-related charges.
We hate it, but we move on.
But then he also said that Holmes is still not accepting responsibility for the crime, and that's going to be counted against her.
And should.
Because she's still maintaining her innocence. I mean...
But she has to, if she's going to appeal.
Right. Even when she was issuing her apology, though... It was basically like, I'm sorry that I couldn't make this work. It wasn't like, I'm sorry that I deliberately lied. She never said anything like that, which, to your point...
She can't.
She has to.
Yeah, she can't.
Like, she's so far down that hole at this point, she can't turn around and be like, all right, yeah, the whole time I knew.
Yeah, no. If she ever thinks she's going to have a smidge of a chance at an appeal, she can't do any of that.
Yeah. I mean, there's just damning evidence. There's so much damning evidence against her and so many people who are willing to testify that she should have known. Normally,
the other reason these things don't get as far is because people do not testify because they do not want to say, this person tricked me out of millions of dollars.
Yep.
But they were like, this person tricked me out of millions of dollars, bitch, better have my money. And that also set this apart from everything else.
Yes, you're right. I do wonder how this would have been different if it wasn't Elizabeth Holmes.
Yeah, same.
Like, if it was just Sunny Balwani on his own, would this ever have gotten the media attention? Would this ever have gotten...
We love a success story in the U.S. We also love to watch things fall apart. And I think this is like...
A train wreck.
She was on the cover of, everything?
Forbes, everything, yeah.
And now the New York Times being sentenced. I mean, people love that.
People love a train wreck. And Theranos was a verified train wreck.
So right before her sentencing, Holmes addressed the court saying, I loved Theranos. It was my life's work. The people I tried to get involved with Theranos were people I loved and respected the most. I'm devastated by my failings. Again, saying failings. Every day for the past few years, I have felt deep pain for what people went through because I failed them. She was apologizing to Theranos employees, investors, and patients. She said, I gave everything I had to building our company and saving our company. She added, I regret my failings with every cell in my body.
Right.
She submitted to the court 130 letters from her family, friends, and other former coworkers in this attempt to support her for a sentencing, right? In these documents, there are notes from a nonprofit she was volunteering with to help victims of assaults. And she was also working, and they wrote this in the documents, like people wrote in support of her, that she was working to support legislation on this topic because that was one of her points in her case was that Sunny, she was abused, essentially.
Yeah, which I don't disagree with.
Yeah, agreed. Yes, and I think that work, is important, but I think people will wonder if she was doing that.
Right.
Right.
You weren't doing it before.
Right. You get it.
Yeah.
Y'all get it.
I mean,
you
it's good work.
Because I was like, convenient time.
It's good work. You should be doing it, but
It's a little sus.
Yeah.
The government also sent the judge victim impact statements against her,
Mhm.
including a letter from her own aunt who invested in the company and believes that her niece deserves time, which is so hilarious and also tragic. Part of the train wreck.
I mean, Thanksgiving in the Holmes house is about to get awkward.
Real rough, yeah. Her current partner, Billy Evans, wrote an extensive letter. Basically a love letter to her, right? And it gets crazy, so of course we took some snippets.
It does get crazy.
He says when they met, quote, I was captivated by her childish wonder and authenticity. She listened more intently than anyone I've ever met. We were just friends, quote unquote, for the first 6 months.
Mhm.
I was hesitant to dive in given all that had been said. I was naturally conflicted. The person I knew did not align with the narratives others had crafted because he met her like after things started coming out.
Right. I would be hesitant too, my dog.
I think you weren't hesitant enough, but carry on.
Do you?
He also wrote about their dog that was killed as well. And because that's weird, we want to tell you what he said.
Yeah.
He wrote, quote, when our dog Balto had been carried away by a mountain lion from our front porch, which is arguably my worst nightmare, I will say.
Oh, same.
That is scary.
Yeah.
He said Liz had faith that he would and could still be alive. She searched for 16 hours in brambles and poison oak to find him. It was only when she saw his lifeless body that she could come to realize that he was gone. It crushed her. I knew he was dead in those long, drawn-out hours searching, but her certainty and the possibility of his survival gave me a sense of hope, but that's Liz for you. She's constantly hoping and working towards the best outcome, even if it is unlikely, which wraps up this entire thing and does not excuse her one smidge.
I'm just so confused because if I had to write a story
About Eric.
about how my partner was not
Trash.
running basically like a conspiracy to defraud investors, I don't think my dog getting carried away by a mountain lion would come up.
Ever.
It's just very odd. The whole thing is very odd. He also wrote about the toll that the trial and public attention around it has taken on him and Holmes. He said that when she goes out in public, she is, quote, nearly always incognito. You were on the cover of Forbes. I feel like that was going to happen one way or another, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Large sunglasses, hair tucked up beneath a baseball cap, head down. She walks through public places trying to hide, but it doesn't do much good. He wrote, once we were 5 miles down a trail in a national forest and a passerby took out their phone to snap a picture. It is incessant. What I find particularly interesting about this whole thing in the context of Elizabeth and her partner feeling like hounded is the fact that at her trial during victim impact statements, the father of Theranos whistleblower Tyler Schultz stood up and said that Holmes had actually hired a private investigator to follow his son when Theranos suspected that he had spoken to media about the company. Quote, it was a grueling experience to go through, and I feel like my family home was desecrated by Elizabeth and the lawyers.
And that's on period.
So fascinating to be like, oh, she was followed around by people. Like, you hired a PI to follow a 20-year-old kid.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is never a good idea to say how a crime that you are convicted of has negatively impacted you.
Right.
Unanimous, no one gives a shit.
No.
Like, nobody cares when you are convicted.
Because you did it.
Because you are convicted.
Right.
Like, even if you're innocent, it's not a good idea to say that. I'm just telling anyone who's listening, nobody cares once you're convicted.
Mm-hmm.
How anything has impacted you because it has impacted other people worse.
Right.
And you are never going to win a sympathy vote on, but my life is now hard. Nobody gives a shit.
No.
Don't do it. This is not legal advice. This is just optics advice from us. Don't
That's
do
a good piece of advice, because I feel like every time you hear it, my immediate reaction is like, oh, is it hard for you?
Exactly.
Right?
Literally.
In a separate trial over the summer, her former business and romantic partner, Sunny Balwani, was convicted on 12 counts of fraud. He's going to be sentenced in December, like we said. They were originally charged together, but when her attorneys essentially revealed that their plan was to throw him under the bus, they were obviously tried separately. That makes sense.
I can't wait to see what happens to him as well. Because if she's guilty...
Super guilty. All the way
super
guilty.
guilty.
If she's going to jail for 11 years, which everybody knows, I think,
yeah.
you get sentenced to 11 years for a white-collar crime, I highly doubt she'll spend 11 years in jail.
Yeah, but maybe 6.
But probably 6, maybe 5.
She'll spend some years.
Justifiably so, in my opinion.
Agreed, yeah.
But if she got 11 years on 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy to commit fraud, he got 10 counts.
So she was 4 counts at 11 years. I will say I'm not good at math.
Same.
But if we cross-multiplied and figured out, it'd be a lot.
20 years?
Yeah.
So it feels like his sentence is about to be heavy.
Yeah. So people shouldn't be allowed to lie about how well their company's doing in order to trick others into funding their lifestyle or their fame. Like, that's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully this does set a precedent for holding people accountable in the future. And we hate that it had to happen.
Agreed.
Where the optics could look not great, but it is, I think, a step in the right direction where we are saying you cannot lie. And at the end of the day, as long as someone is willing to take the stand against you, like, you should be held accountable for things you do.
Yeah.
Next time, let's also hold them accountable for harming patients, though.
Yes. It always comes down to the fact that this is in a healthcare space for me.
Yep.
If she did all of these things and she was inventing an app that was not healthcare related, I think I personally would not give nearly as much of a shit about it as I do about the fact that she essentially defrauded patients.
Yep.
Like, we've talked about this in previous episodes. She made people think that they had lost their babies, that they had, and not her personally, her technology that she was promoting. People got, scares for like cancer, HIV.
Yeah.
Lots of false positive diagnoses that could be really harmful to you emotionally.
Yeah, no, same. But at least she is being held somewhat accountable.
Yeah. And I agree that it's a step in the right direction, or at least sets a precedent for if you go crazy and do something like this in the healthcare space, this is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to wait for Sunny's sentencing, but pending appeal, this does feel right.
Yeah.
Like a little justice.
A little bit of justice. And that's what we know about that.
Yeah, we hope everybody has a great holiday this week, and you're in the holiday season, which is awesome.
Yeah.
If you have a topic you'd love us to cover, send us a DM at Malpractice Podcast on Instagram or an email at malpracticepodcast@gmail.com.
Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you like to listen.
100 episodes.
100 episodes.
Amazing. Thank you for listening.
Our centennial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking with us. And don't forget,
Malpractice makes perfect. Bye.
Bye-bye.